Hey, everybody. Parnell Woodard. Welcome to another edition of FranTech. Really, really excited to bring a very special guest to you guys today. If you don't know who he is, this is Eric Van Horn, who has been kind enough to join us. Eric has an amazing background, leading franchise advisor and entrepreneur, really known for his impact in the franchising sector. His entrepreneurial journey started with the successful expansion of his initial franchise to 42 locations in Austin, Texas. He expanded that portfolio, acquiring 8 more brands, initiating one as a franchisor and achieving a number of noteworthy exits. He has established 2 masterminds for franchisees and franchisors, fostering a community of growth and learning. He hosts the Leading Franchise Secrets podcast that engages industry leaders in thought-provoking discussions and sharing valuable insights. He also co-founded Front Street Equity Partners, which is a trailblazing private equity firm centered on strategic advisement, committed to really propelling enterprise value growth across its portfolio of brands. Widely recognized for his expertise and innovative approach, Eric's dedication to empowering entrepreneurs and his visionary leadership have solidified his status as a premier advisor in franchising. Eric, thanks for coming today.
Oh man, this is great. I've been looking forward to this. So this will be a fun one. I'm glad it's casual and informal and we can just talk about some good stuff. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
So after that intro, in your spare time, good Lord, what do you have left to do in your spare time?
Dude, I prioritize family. Like that's a huge priority to me. I don't talk about it a lot on social media or anything. Is just like that's our private life. And my wife and I, we have 3 daughters, 11, 12, and 15. And
God bless you, man.
They're amazing girls and they're just like at the best ages ever.
That's so cool.
So I just took one daughter to Guatemala. We spent 3 days with John Maxwell, who's a leadership guy, wrote a bunch of different books, and we had dinners and lots of time with John. And my daughter had sat right next to John for a 2-hour dinner. And I'm just like, it's so special to be able to do that with my oldest daughter. Yeah. And then we toured the country for a 1 day in a really cool spot. So like when I say family is important to me, like that will probably be the most epic thing that I did all year.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Nice. Well, I'll jump into, to our first topic, which is really around emerging franchises and your perspective on how to scale them. So, and you've talked about this extensively on your podcast as well in terms of strategic or smart growth, I think was the phrase you used, but you've built and scaled and sold a variety of franchise brands. What role did technology play in the most successful brands?
There's a brand right now that we are working with. Do you want me to say names or no names? I don't care.
It's completely up to you. Yeah.
Okay. It's called Hello Sugar, and it's a sugaring, waxing, laser hair removal brand.
Sure.
And the founder, Brigham, is a younger founder who is an amazing leader and built a great team. Early on, he started to think of this as a technology play. So as AI was coming out, he was early into it to build basically an AI chat bot or answering service. And so, he spent a lot of money on that for the franchisees. So the franchisees get to benefit from it, but there's really no receptionist. Like that AI is the receptionist. So when I think about a brand utilizing technology, it's not getting just into Chat GPT to have better copy for, Facebook posts. It's like, how do I help my franchisees save money? And this is the way that we can do it. It's not like it's a large profit center. They're doing it so franchisees can make more money, have more revenue, and save money on labor costs. And so that's just how he thinks in general. So kind of broaden out a little bit, emerging franchisors be thinking about how you can help your franchisees by utilizing AI and technology, whether you are building it yourself with a team or there's more and more outsourced technology solutions that are utilizing AI like he is using in-house, but there's places to go and do that where you can just hire them as a vendor. But at the end of the day, it's about helping franchisees grow faster, make more money. That's like the big thing.
Yeah, the application of technology is so important, and I see so many people that are doing technology really for the sake of technology, right? Because they feel like they have to, without any real strategic focus on what it needs to accomplish for the organization, for the franchisee, whatever that might be. So, do you think there are certain things that separate brands that scale quickly and effectively from those that struggle?
So the ones that scale quickly will successfully scale quickly. Like there's so
Successfully.
many that
Fair
just,
enough.
that's why I pause, because I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a second. There's so many brands that scale quickly and you can identify them because they're like, we sold 200 units this year. Everything is a unit count. Everything is tied to territories, not franchisees, not locations open or trucks out on the street. It's tied to a number of territories sold, which is one indicator of how well that brand's doing, because you do want them to scale by selling franchises, but you really need to look behind that number. So just franchises sold is not a brand that's scaling quickly and necessarily in a healthy way. So I think the ones that scale quickly in a healthy way are able to get their locations open or operating, whether it's if it's service based, trucks out on the street, servicing homes, servicing people, and they are able to take learnings from that. So I think if there's just a good feedback loop for franchisees to give feedback to the founder or the training team or whoever's at the corporate office. So I think immediate feedback loops are really helpful. When I founded a franchise, as the founder of it, and there's a couple of us partners, we had our first training. And right after that training, we sent a survey to the newest franchisees, our first franchisees, and there's like 10 of them. And they gave us feedback, and it was very consistent. We need more time out in the field learning the sales aspect of it, this, that, and the other, not so much theory inside the classroom. And the days were too long, so immediately we changed the training for that. I think founders can get so caught up into, this is the way they've always done it, and so that's the way everybody else should do it, and I'm going to train this way and try to give them the knowledge that's in my head and give it to them through SOPs and have them follow certain KPIs. But you need to listen to the franchisees. And I think that needs to become part of the culture of the brand as well. So I think successful emerging brands that are scaling quickly have that immediate feedback loop. They're making really good hires. Like Parnell, most people that are in franchising, they don't have somebody like us that helps them look around the corners and see the pitfalls that they're about ready to fall into. So I think for them, they need to hire people that come from franchising and successful in whatever it was that they were doing before. Just last point on this, an example of that is Mel over at one of our franchises called GoGlow. She needed a second in command. Like, she's the founder, visionary, great at so many things, but she was growing at a very quick rate, and we needed to put in a brand president or a COO or some type of high level ops person. So that's when we found Tori, and we recruited Tori for quite some time. And then she came into the mix, and now Mel's like, thank God for Tori. The GoGlow would not be where it is today if Mel hadn't made that crucial decision to hire Tori at that time. So I think those that are scaling smart and quickly need to be looking around the corners to make the right hires.
Yeah, executive level alignment, I think, is really, really key. I had a gentleman on one of my other podcasts the other day, and he's a futurist. And one of the things he said to me when we were talking about CEOs going forward that I thought was really, really profound was not just the ability to learn quickly, but with the pace of change today, it was the ability to unlearn equally as quickly. And you talked about that the CEO who says, "Well, we've always done it this way," and there's value in that, but there's also value in learning about new approaches to do things more efficiently, more quickly, whatever it is as you grow. And I just thought that was such a profound insight. The ability to unlearn quickly, I think, is so important. Yeah.
So did you have peer? I 100% agree with that. I love that. I just saw a post, a friend of mine that has a large company outside of franchising, and he was doing an offsite meeting, which she said cost him about $100,000 to do an offsite meeting, but they do it consistently every quarter. And I think they're probably running on EOS, because he said our coach put these things on the wall and said, Chandler, remember these 5 things. And one of them was basically to unlearn quickly, like have
Yeah.
an open mind when you go in. So probably some Stephen Covey stuff in there and whatnot. So I love that you said that, because it just resonates with what he just posted. But was the futurist you had on Peter Diamandis?
No, it was a gentleman by the name of David Houle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great to get Peter on?
I've known David for 20 years. So yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I have to listen to that one. That sounds great.
It's on my podcast called The Pivot Point. And in fact, that episode, I think, dropped today. Yeah.
Well, I got my homework now.
Yeah, there you go. Talk to me a little bit. So outside of AI, are you seeing any emerging technologies, new technologies, whether it's a lot of it's obviously AI enhanced stuff now, whether it's CRM or learning management systems or training tools, or, I'm not going to go down the virtual reality thing. I think that tanked last week from what I saw, not tanked, but it's certainly not as big a deal as we saw in previous years. But any emerging technologies that you're starting to see?
I don't know. I don't think I have anything good for you there from a technology standpoint. I got something probably more boring that is more around like assistants virtual assistants that are getting trained on technology.
We can make it exciting.
On AI. What's that?
We can make it exciting.
All right. So I have a friend. I won't name names here, but I have a friend that has a company that has virtual assistants. Like everybody has a company that has virtual assistants. But what he's doing, he charges like, I think $30,000 or $36,000 a year, and he trains them on AI research, emails, trains them on all of this stuff. So there's a level of management that they do, to train these virtual assistants, and most of them are from Argentina, I believe. And then, so they're always getting trained in group sessions, and then they are kind of managed by his company as well. Like if there's something wrong, his company will step in and do more training for them or direction or whatnot. And we meet with them once a week. And I'm just about ready to hire my first one. But like when I think of like virtual reality, virtual assistants, that business is definitely changing right now. Yeah. But then you have a virtual assistant that's trained in technology, whatever it is, if it's HubSpot, if it is on Gronk or ChatGPT, like they're doing the deep research on ChatGPT to be able to do some really good stuff. Or the guy that we're looking at hiring has a website background. So very skilled labor that is getting trained by somebody that comes from a technology background to always be cutting edge. Like when when ChatGPT first came out with Operator, within a week, they had already done 1 or 2 training sessions for these virtual assistants for people like me. So when I think of franchisors using, or people like me, or even franchisees utilizing technology, like you can do that through a virtual assistant who knows all of this technology because they're trained by this technology friend of mine that happens to have a VA company. So
the VAs are getting trained on technology, or the VAs are getting trained on the business, and then the business is using the VAs?
The biz, like I will hire that VA for $3,000 a month. That VA is trained by my friend's company on HubSpot, on High Level, on Facebook posting, on ChatGPT Operator, or deep research, or other AI tools, or other CRMs, or LinkedIn outreach. And they can create the operator that goes in and finds the leads that you need on LinkedIn, does the outreach, they do all of that stuff for you. So I think it's an easy way to lean into some of these technology tools that, I don't want to have to do. I don't want to have to manage a CRM and go do all this stuff. But these people are better at it than I am. And even research, Parnell. I mean, that's a big thing that we do, and creating marketing plans and grand opening stuff, and teaching, and then doing stuff to create stuff for your franchisees to go do. Like you can use Operator, use AI or different technologies to create SOPs for your franchisees to go out and execute.
Yeah, interesting way to add a human layer to the utilization of AI and all of that too. So and there's obviously a lot of talk now about agentic AI and the ability to bring reasoning into the actual workflow. So we're seeing a lot of that, and I've been saying for a year or so now that agentic AI is going to make ChatGPT look like a calculator in a year or so, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah, and I mean, basically, operator, that is operator, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
operator is an agentic tool. Correct?
Yeah, and have you heard of Manus, MANUS
I feel like
.im?
I've looked at that before.
So I just got into that, and that is like operator on steroids. It's amazing how fast this stuff is moving, but that's one that I just started to play with, and I feel like I'm behind on all of this stuff. But then I talk to other people, they don't even have a clue of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're not. And you know what the other thing I'm seeing too is, and a lot of people are very worried, obviously, about AI taking their jobs, and I've challenged that openly because I think what it's going to do is it's going to force us to raise our critical thinking skills. Right? It's going to force us to do that. And I did some work the other day on prospecting, and I worked with another colleague of mine, and we reverse engineered all the work that we had done into ChatGPT, and we created a reusable prompt for sourcing and identifying clients through a variety of very, very deep research, public resources. But Eric, the prompt was 23 pages long when we were done, right? And it's a 6-stage prompt through ChatGPT. So it's not just help me write a better email, or that is just again, I'll go back to David Houle in My Futures. He said AI, when when electricity was created, right, it was a flickering light bulb, right? That's what we thought. Nobody thought about electricity driving microwaves or cars, right? What is AI going to do for us in 100 years? We can't even get our arms around what that's going to do for us in 100 years. So we got a little off the beaten track, but that's okay. I'm down with
I
that.
know we could even go further off, but we'll get back on track.
No, that's okay. Do you think that outside of the brands that you mentioned in terms of using technology well, are there industries in the franchise space that you think are doing a good job with utilizing technology?
I see a lot of anything that has a front desk, a gym, a fitness place, massage. For us, Go Glow is spray tan. I own some other fitness or wellness ones as an investor, as a franchisee, and like I think anyone that has a front desk that's a low hanging fruit to utilize AI in there, and AI is getting to the point where like it can understand the person on the other end of the phone, understand it can change their tone based on what that person's saying.
Sure.
Like if they're saying something frustrated, the AI can change the tone to be a little bit more calm. And so I think removing that human element for speed and consistency and getting that customer what they need, and then bringing in that human when you need that human element is important. But I think more people are getting used to having AI and communicating with AI, so it's kind of natural. It's like, I don't care if I'm on the phone with an airline, I'd rather talk to AI to get me what I need real quick, and then when I'm ready for a human, I'm there. So I think any of these businesses that have front desk, I think they should be utilizing AI, just like Brigham is over at Hello Sugar. I think the service-based industry is there's a lot of room in that. And I think there's, inside and outside of franchising, meaning like home services, somebody doing something in a yard, inside, outside of a home. From interacting with customers to closing the deals, there's all kinds of stuff that AI will be helpful for. But what I think one of the really interesting things there is understanding how your salespeople are doing out in the field or whatever, because now you have access to all of this information on these phone calls, whether it's a phone call or an in-person meeting. You have access to listen to all that, compile all that, put that into an AI or an agent or whatever, and start to understand these are the most common questions. And we're dealing with objections at the time the objection's coming up. Now we need to move further back in the sales process so we can handle the objection before the objections becomes the objection. Or this is how they're handling it. This is the way they should handle it. Even, from franchise development, if you, as these folks out there selling franchises, or or people working for a franchise right now, and they are on the phone selling, like, you can bring up different prompts to help how to answer things. And that's a real simple thing to do with AI. It's like none of this stuff is groundbreaking, but I would say most of the brands out there are not doing any of it.
Yeah. Yeah. The front desk thing is an interesting one, because there's a lot of mixed feelings around the loss of human or personal touch in that, right? I had Josh York on one of my episodes from Jim Guy's, and he talks about how important that personal aspect is in the training side. I had Rick Mayo on from Alloy Personal Training on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about that. But if you think about that inbound call, not only do you have the ability to structure the tone and respond, but you also have the ability to bring that customer data into that AI agent to be able to say, oh, hey, Eric, thanks for calling. I noticed you weren't in the past, haven't been in the past week for your session. So you want me to book your next appointment for you? There's so many ways to bring that data alive in a practical sense. Do you worry at all about the loss of human interaction with the pendulum swinging maybe too far to the AI side?
Yeah, I think so. I know both of those guys, and they're great guys with great companies,
Yeah.
and super smart. And I fully agree. Like, there's that balance, right? That's where human interaction and having an actual human on the phone is going to be even more important. But I think, like, there's so much repetitive stuff. If that human is just saying the same thing over and over,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they get to the point where that customer really needs that empathetic human to talk to them, they're worn out because they've been on the phone all day long.
Yeah.
Now, if AI is doing a lot of the monotonous work, and then they're coming to you with a problem or ready to book or something like that, and they need that human interaction, I think that human interaction is it's more important at that point, but I think that human is probably more on point to be able to do what they need to do, to close the sale or to, help a customer out.
Yeah. 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 In terms
Well,
of
even on this, like, sorry to interrupt, like, there's probably going to be podcasts out there like you and I that are just going to be typed up or written, and it's going to look like we're saying it. And that's probably not that. I mean, it's here in a way, but it's probably not that far off from people actually.
Full disclosure, I have a couple that I produced. Jellypod.
Yeah.
Jellypod is a fantastic tool for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think that's where going live on Facebook or these different places where you are live and people know it's you and they understand, the things that we say wrong, or like, I wish I would have cut this out, but there's that human level. And so sometimes I'll just go live in my Facebook group just so people know, like, it's me. And my podcast, they are like edited just a tiny bit to make it sound a little bit better, but we'll have mistakes that happen and whatnot. And I'm like, keep all that in there because it's authentic. It's reality.
I agree. No, I agree completely. In terms of operational bottlenecks, you've got emerging brands that are coming along. Have you seen where they get bottlenecked? Are there certain places you feel like they get bottlenecked in terms of their ability to grow?
Just in general, brands?
Just in general, yeah.
I would say the capital is a bottleneck for most of these brands. They're just not capitalized enough. Yeah. And that's why when we look at portfolio brands, we want to make sure that they're capitalized, and then they have a good CPA and bookkeeper to really run the business by the numbers. So I see too many brands kind of, that's basic business, but everything's multiplied when you are dealing with bigger numbers and more people. So that's a challenge. I think brands that you need to grow fast enough, but you can't grow too fast. Yeah. And so if you're growing too slow, you don't have, the bottleneck is not having enough people. Like, you don't have enough good people on your team to really help these franchisees. But if you're growing too fast, then you are trying to keep up with the growth and are always hiring. And so you probably don't have the best culture or the best infrastructure in place, because you're still building the aircraft as you're flying it. That's a challenge. I think the biggest bottleneck that I kind of see is probably not making the right hires at the right time.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important. You need better people than you really have. And you don't have the capital to be able to do that unless you have a decent amount of capital from somewhere else besides just the business. That's why, some of these brands plateau, because they're not able to keep up with the growth, or they're making the wrong decisions, Parnell. Like, they are bringing on the wrong franchisees because it's capital. I was talking to a brand 2 days ago, and he said, I'm making deals with new franchisees right now that I would normally not make, but I need the money. And that's a bad place to be.
Yeah.
So, those are, kind of bottlenecks, or just challenges that these emerging brands run into.
Yeah.
So many different ones that we see. They don't have the right training in place. Like, so many of these brands, they have very weak training. They don't have strong SOPs. They don't have ways for franchisees to monitor their business to see how well they're doing. They don't have really good grand opening plans. That's a big thing. Franchisors should have amazing grand opening plans, because if your franchisees open up at double of what they're doing now, like, the path to profitability and the road to $1 million or $2 million AUV is so much more likely having that really strong grand opening. Yeah. So I don't think enough brands probably really give that enough attention as well.
As you talk to some of those brands, do you have advice for them around making sure they have technology that scales alongside their business? Does that topic ever come up? What do you got? What do you talk about in that sense?
Yeah, it's CRMs are, I don't know if there's any good CRMs out there. You got CRMs in the service-based space, the beauty space, and it's like they all don't do something that they should be doing. And so that's always a topic, no matter how some of the biggest and the best brands out there still deal with that. So we're always trying to think of technology solutions for them. And you're always having to kind of piece some things together, from texting to, just the CRM management, handling invoices, all kinds of stuff. I think more people need to consider having like a fractional, tech CFO or CTO. Like, I think whether it's a full fractional or just an advisor in that, I think I think more people need to consider that, because they're focused on operational stuff, when technology, somebody like smart like you and others can come in and be like, there's a technology solution to this. I know you don't know how to get this CRM to communicate to this thing over here to have billing incorporate into your credit card, so things are seamless. And so they just have this broken system, and they're just limping along until something breaks, and then they have to change something. And then many times that's changing a full CRM to something else, which is a mess in and of itself. Even if the other one is better, is the pain really worth it? I heard someone yesterday, we were talking about this. They said, in order for me to change a CRM, I needs to be 150% better or more for me to go through the pain of changing it. But most of these founders or C-level executives are not technology people. So for non-technology people, it's just a different language, and what might be a simple fix is just a mountain for them. So that's my comment on that.
Thanks for the CTO plug, folks, and listeners. Yeah. That was not scripted.
It was definitely not.
But it's funny you say that, because my last company, the product that we introduced was called IntelliHub, and the premise of IntelliHub was the integration of the data from the point of sale systems along with data from other systems, so you get a more holistic picture of what's going on. So we were the first partner that MindBody ever allowed to connect to their backend database, not through their API, but to the actual backend database. We were moving 15 terabytes of data through our pipes every day, right? We supported 200 franchisors around the world, but it was also about data that was coming in from Listen 360, from other sources, right? You talked about telephone data, all those things. All that should be centralized to get a better and more holistic picture of what's happening in the business, right? Not just at the franchisor level, but also at the Z level, because they need that information, right? So we built a massive implementation for the exercise coach. When we started working with Brad and Brian, they were at 40 or 50 locations. They're up over 250 now. And a lot of them will tell you part of the reason they were able to do that was the ability to track customers from every stage of their experience because of what we did with IntelliHub on that. So I agree completely on those.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of stuff like the average franchisor listening right now. That's just like probably beyond them. And I know Brian's a technology guy, isn't he?
Um, he
Or
is
is it
certainly, yeah,
Brian?
because he's the dual CEO. He was also the head of the technology for the actual equipment itself. I'm
Yeah,
drawing a blank on
that's
it
what
at
I
the moment.
thought.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, he's kind of like Brigham. Brigham's, understands technology. He understood technology and the value of it. So bringing in like, like you coming in and being able to put everything together, that data is so valuable. How much easier would it be to do that today with the technology that we have versus
A
back then?
lot. I mean, even if when we built the platform, we built our the data warehouse on Snowflake, and in fact, MindBody followed us to Snowflake because it was such a good solution. But just now, the added layers of just normal language, queries where the average user can layer in a normal language query without having to know how to write code or Python or anything like that. It's just such a game changer. Not to mention the integration points are so much easier nowadays, right? Um, the data models are easier to build. There's so many different things. Just to keep an eye on time, I want to be conscious of that. Are there um, in terms of future proofing things, and that's always hard to do because it changes so fast. Are there big technology risks that you see for emerging franchisors in the next 3 to 5 years? Risks that either they should be taking or maybe they should be avoiding?
I think the biggest risk is not leaning into it. Um, I mean, I just and probably that's where I sit. I talk to so many founders, and they're just not even thinking about this stuff, and their team's not thinking about it. Their team's not even on Chat GPT or any of these things, on a weekly basis to help them. And so I just think the biggest risk is them just sitting on the sidelines thinking, this isn't a big deal, or listening to the wrong people, or just being afraid of it. And so I think that's the biggest risk by far, with these founders and these brands not leaning into technology and AI. And I think they do lean into it. They just need to find somebody that kind of helps them or guides them along the way, because there are a lot of people out there selling silly stuff, saying it's this proprietary AI thing, and all it is
It's a
stuff
wrapper.
bolted onto Chat
It's a
GPT,
chat
and it's
GPT
garbage.
wrapper. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's exactly
yeah.
what it is.
So I think, and I think that's probably scaring some people off as well. And I've talked to some people that were just incredibly smart, doing really big things in the franchise world with AI. And then others, I'm just like, you're just kind of smoke and mirrors right here. And so I think people just need to lean into it, use it for the stuff that they can do every day in their franchise business. I know some people, I don't know if you are a fan of this or not, but like some founders are saying, I want my team to spend, 30 minutes a day on Chat GPT, and share what they learned or share what they did across the system. Not all the franchisees, and this is outside of franchising. There's people that own private companies, but they're like, I want my 50 employees to spend 30 minutes a day, and then come in and in the Slack channel to say, this is what I learned, this is what I did. And so that starts to get a culture of, we are leaning into this versus we're afraid of it.
Yeah, I think that's actually wise counsel. I think using it is important. There's a lot of chatter too about what'll happen with AI, and the cost of AI is going to continue to go down. The ability to use these tools, the cost to use the tools. So then what's the real point of differentiation in terms of how you use them? it's that, heightened critical thinking that's going into those. It's that 23-page prompt that I mentioned earlier, right? To get the value out of it. It's not going to be just those quick little things, because that's going to be price of entry, right? That's going to be just to play. Everybody's going to be able to do that. So it's going to change things a little bit. So
I like on that 23-page prompt, I just want to echo, like, there's a huge difference between having a well thought out designed prompt versus just like going in and saying, oh, I see this really cool thing that somebody's doing. ChatGPT, give me a prompt to create this thing. Because I've seen some of these amazing prompts, and I have a guy that I know that gave me one of his prompts for like a business advisor, and it was amazing what he did with that prompt, and then the data that was fed into it from this big old zip file, and like it took many hours to be able to do that, but what it kicks out is next level.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. So, all right, let's do a little quick rapid fire kind of a little fun round at the end of this. What is the best business book you have read recently?
The best business book I've read recently. It's a leadership book by John Maxwell. And it is, I can't remember the name of it, but John Maxwell just wrote this book, and it's about values-based leader. So I'll get the name for it in a minute, but being around somebody like that has led so many people and is that leadership guru, seeing what he's doing across the world and helping all kinds of people with leadership is unbelievable. It's like sitting with a Zig Ziglar today. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I'll get that name before the end of the podcast.
Oh, cool. I'm headed out on vacation on Saturday, so maybe I can pick it up and take it with. So if you weren't in franchising, what would you be doing?
I'd probably be selling something somewhere. And then, I think I'd be selling something. Like I got my teeth cut in franchising with franchise sales. So I really like that. But I mean, if I could be doing something, probably more, that's first what comes to mind. Second that comes to mind, what I'm enjoying doing now is advising these different brands. And so I think I would create a larger community of business owners, similar to what Cody Sanchez is doing and Roland Frazier and some of these other people that I know, and just having a larger impact on a greater number of people. And I actually enjoy that stuff. I enjoy the community. So that's what I'd probably do.
Yeah, I really like your mastermind and some of the things that you've structured over on that side, at least what I've been able to read about it. So one technology tool you can't live without.
I'd say right now it's probably, used to be Calendly. Everyone wanted to get on my calendar.
Okay.
I would say now it's probably ChatGPT, because I use it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Favorite way to unwind at the end of a long day?
Pickleball. I play pickleball about every day.
Nice.
And it's just it's fun. It is it's challenging to get better and better, and you're just around friends. So like it's the best thing.
Cool. Last question. If you could have lunch with any entrepreneur or business leader, who would it be?
Probably Elon Musk right now. I probably would have never said that before, but I would say like right now, I invested in Twitter when he bought Twitter. It might not be the best investment, but I invested alongside one of the larger firms that did that. And so that was and I did it because it's like, you don't want to bet against that guy. Yeah. And then just seeing like the SpaceX go up and bring those astronauts back. I'm like, this guy just thinks differently, whether you love him or hate him. Yeah. He's doing things very differently. Yeah. And by the way, that book is called High Road Leadership.
High Road Leadership. All right.
So yeah, Elon Musk would be just a super fascinating person to sit down with and just learn from, because his brain, I'm sure, thinks completely different than mine.
Yeah. I think he's got some quote that goes to the effect of you better get good at eating glass, because that's at the end of the day, all you get is the stuff that nobody else can solve, and it's like eating glass. So I was like, wow, that's an interesting thought. He's right. So cool, Eric, man, thanks very much for coming on today. I really appreciate having you here, folks. Eric Van Horn. I'm Parno. This has been another episode of Frantech. We'll see you guys next time.